Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're so excited to have you here today. But before we get into today's topic, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let us know which country you're tuning in from. Let's build a global community where we can all connect and share ideas. If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss out on our future videos. Also, we want to know what you want to learn about next. Got questions or topics on your mind, whether it's about physiological health, sexual psychology, sexual health, or even exploring the sex lives of older women or men? Let us know in the comments. We're all about delivering content that you care about. So let's keep this conversation going. Comment below and let's get talking. As we age, our preferences shift in many ways, including how we view social interactions. While our younger years may have been marked by lively gatherings and frequent visits with friends and family, there often comes a time when we start to appreciate the quiet peace of solitude. Have you ever wondered why some older adults begin to favor their own company over socializing? Why do they choose the calm of their home over bustling gatherings? In this article, we explore why embracing solitude, particularly for those aged 65 to 80, can lead to greater happiness, health, and peace of mind. Through personal stories of individuals like Mr. Jiang and Mrs. Li, we will uncover the reasons why limiting visits to others is a healthier choice as we age. In the following sections, we will delve into 3 key lessons that explain the benefits of embracing solitude, respecting personal boundaries, and the importance of mindful social interactions. We will share stories that reflect these themes and offer personal insights, encouraging you to reflect on how you can apply these lessons to your own life. Mr. Jiang, the peaceful power of solitude. Mr. Jiang, a man in his 60s, found comfort in a life of solitude after years of active socializing. Once, he enjoyed the busy atmosphere of social gatherings, but as he aged, he started to crave the tranquility that only solitude could offer. He began to listen to his instincts, choosing to stay home and enjoy the simple pleasures of life, savouring tea, tending to his garden, and reflecting on moments with family. In the past, Mr. Jiang loved meeting friends at cafes or hosting gatherings at his house. Yet, over time, he noticed that the energy of these social interactions had begun to feel draining rather than uplifting. His perspective on relationships shifted. He realized that many of his social engagements had become more of a habit than something truly fulfilling. One memorable story of Mr. Jiang reflects this shift. A relative once remarked, "You used to be so warm and welcoming. Why have you become so distant?" This comment prompted Mr. Jiang to reflect on the changes in his life. He realized that aging had led him to prioritize a quieter, more introspective lifestyle. He found peace in his own company, where he could enjoy the stability of routines and be free from the expectations of others. For many older adults, this shift is a natural progression. Social interactions that once felt essential now seem more like obligations. It becomes easier to opt out of these gatherings in favor of personal reflection or simply spending time alone. This is not a sign of loneliness or social withdrawal, but rather an evolution of what brings happiness and contentment. The benefits of solitude. Why it's healthy to stay in. The need for solitude in older age is not just about avoiding the discomfort of social interactions. It's about nurturing mental well-being, respecting personal boundaries, and creating a life that feels more authentic. Let's explore 3 reasons why limiting social visits in later years can be a positive choice. Social visits can be disruptive. Mr. Wong's story. Imagine this scenario. You reconnect with an old friend after many years, and they invite you over for a visit. What starts as a warm and friendly gesture soon begins to feel more like an obligation. This is exactly what happened to Mr. Wong. Mr. Wong, a sociable man in his late 60s, met an old classmate while walking through his neighborhood. The two instantly reconnected, and his classmate invited him to visit for drinks. Initially, this felt like the perfect way to rekindle an old friendship. But as the visits became more frequent, Mr. Wong began to notice subtle changes in the atmosphere. His friend's wife seemed less enthusiastic, and the children quickly retreated to their rooms when he arrived. After a few more visits, Mr. Wong's friend gently explained that their family was growing uncomfortable with the regular visits. They were no longer able to enjoy their family time due to the constant presence of a guest. This revelation hit Mr. Wong hard, as he had not realized that his frequent visits were disrupting the family dynamic. From Mr. Wong's experience, we learn an important lesson about respecting others' personal space. What we perceive as hospitality may sometimes be a polite gesture rather than an open invitation for ongoing interaction. Social boundaries, while often subtle, are crucial to maintaining respectful and healthy relationships. This story serves as a reminder to always be mindful of others' comfort levels and to ensure that our social presence is welcome. Lesson: pay attention to social cues. What may seem like a kind invitation could be more of a polite formality than an ongoing invitation. Understanding the needs of others helps maintain harmony in relationships. Mrs. Lee: the dangers of oversharing. Mrs. Lee, a friendly woman in her late 60s, loved to chat with her neighbors and keep up with the latest gossip. During one of her casual conversations with friends, she made a seemingly harmless comment about her daughter-in-law. What Mrs. Lee didn't realize was that her comment would be taken out of context, causing a rift between her and her daughter-in-law. This small comment spiraled into a much larger misunderstanding. Mrs. Lee's daughter-in-law, hearing about the remark, felt hurt and upset. This led to an awkward family dynamic, and Mrs. Lee had to deeply reflect on her actions. She realized that her frequent visits and casual conversations had unintentionally caused discomfort within her family. Mrs. Lee's experience highlights the importance of being mindful of what we say, especially when discussing sensitive topics. Words once spoken cannot be taken back, and in social situations, even the smallest comments can have unintended consequences. As we age, we may feel the urge to share our thoughts openly, but it's essential to balance openness with discretion. Be mindful of your words. Frequent visits and casual chats can sometimes lead to misunderstandings, especially when discussing sensitive issues. Maintaining respect and discretion in our conversations fosters healthier relationships. The psychological benefits of solitude, focusing on inner peace. As we age, we become more attuned to what truly brings us happiness and peace. For many, solitude is a chance to focus on inner clarity, free from the pressures of external expectations. When we are alone, we have the opportunity to reflect, recharge, and reconnect with our true selves. This mental clarity allows us to focus on what is truly important, whether that's improving our health, nurturing our relationships, or simply appreciating the little moments of life. For Mr. Jiang, his daily routine of tending to his garden or enjoying a quiet cup of tea became acts of self-care that nurtured his mental and emotional well-being. Solitude also offers a break from the noise of the outside world. In today's fast-paced society, we are constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and expectations. By stepping back and embracing moments of quiet, we give ourselves the space to recharge and gain a fresh perspective on life. Embrace solitude as a form of self-care. It offers valuable moments for reflection, clarity, and inner peace. Navigating social strain. The impact of economic differences. As we age, we may become more aware of the social pressures that surround us, particularly when it comes to economic status. Interactions between families of differing financial means can often lead to subtle feelings of inadequacy or discomfort. These differences, even if not openly discussed, can create tension in social settings. Mrs. Lee's story serves as a powerful example of this dynamic. While her family had modest means, she often visited neighbors with wealthier lifestyles. Over time, these interactions made her feel inadequate, and she noticed that her neighbor's success was a constant reminder of her own financial struggles. This subtle strain prompted Mrs. Lee to reconsider the frequency of her social visits, understanding that sometimes limiting these interactions can help maintain peace of mind. Be aware of how economic differences can affect social interactions. Sometimes, choosing solitude or limiting visits can protect our mental well-being and avoid unnecessary comparisons. Before we dive into today's topic, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? Drop your country in the comments below, and let's start building a community where we can share, learn, and grow together. And hey, while you're at it, let us know what you'd like us to explore next, whether it's physiological health, sexual psychology, sexual health, or even the experiences of older men or women in relationships. We're all about discussing the things that matter most to you, so don't be shy. Your input shapes our next video. Now, let's get back to talking about how you can thrive well into your 60s, 70s, and beyond. The danger of overextending. Mrs. Lee's lesson in communication. Mrs. Lee, a warm-hearted and social woman in her 60s, was known for her lively conversations and frequent visits to her neighbors. She cherished the bonds she had cultivated over the years and always made it a point to stay in touch. However, one seemingly innocent comment during a casual conversation with a close friend spiraled into a conflict that neither she nor anyone involved could have foreseen. During one of their regular chats, Mrs. Lee made a light-hearted comment about her daughter-in-law's cooking skills. The remark, which was intended to be humorous and harmless, was inadvertently shared with her daughter-in-law. What started as a casual observation quickly escalated into a misunderstanding that led to a rift in their relationship. Mrs. Lee's story is a powerful reminder of how our words, though often well-intentioned, can have unintended consequences. What might seem like an innocent comment in one moment can be misconstrued, especially when emotions or sensitivities are involved. In Mrs. Lee's case, her frequent social interactions and informal conversations led to this unfortunate event. She had never considered that her off-the-cuff remarks might be taken the wrong way. This experience prompted Mrs. Lee to rethink her approach to socializing. She began making a conscious effort to steer conversations away from topics that could be sensitive, particularly those involving family members or anyone who might interpret her words differently than intended. By doing so, Mrs. Lee learned the importance of mindfulness in communication and the need to ensure that interactions, especially within close-knit circles, remain positive and harmonious. Her story underscores a key lesson. Sometimes, less is more. Frequent visits and conversations may seem like the best way to stay connected, but they can also increase the risk of miscommunication and conflict. Learning to prioritize quality over quantity in our interactions can help maintain stronger, more meaningful relationships. Economic differences and social strain. Navigating the financial divide. In many communities, the differences in economic status between families can sometimes create an undercurrent of tension. The more affluent may not always realize the subtle discomfort their lifestyle choices can cause to those of more modest means. However, this tension becomes more apparent as we age, and it can affect the way we approach social gatherings. Consider the story of Mr. Tran, who had spent the majority of his life striving for success. By the time he was in his 60s, he had achieved what many would consider the pinnacle of financial success. A beautiful house, a luxury car, and a life of comfort and security. Yet, as he navigated social gatherings with family and friends, he began to sense an unease among those around him. Despite his genuine desire to connect, he noticed that his more affluent lifestyle sometimes put a strain on his relationships, particularly with family members of more modest means. When Mr. Tran invited his cousins over for a holiday dinner, he did not intend to make anyone feel uncomfortable. But the moment they arrived, he sensed a palpable shift in the atmosphere. His luxurious home, the elaborate meal, and the expensive gifts he presented seemed to draw a line between him and his relatives. The situation was not overt. No one voiced any dissatisfaction, but Mr. Tran couldn't shake the feeling that his wealth was creating a divide, however subtle. The tension came to a head one day when one of his cousins, in a rare moment of candor, admitted that the frequent displays of affluence left them feeling inadequate. The disparity in their financial circumstances made them feel excluded, as if they couldn't participate fully in Mr. Tran's lifestyle. This conversation was a wake-up call for him. Mr. Tran realized that while he had been focused on building his wealth, he had unintentionally fostered an environment where others felt uncomfortable, even alienated, by his success. He began to reflect on his relationships and understood that true connection with others wasn't rooted in material wealth, but in shared experiences and mutual understanding. The social strain caused by these economic differences is not isolated to Mr. Tran's story. For many older adults, the growing disparity between themselves and others in their social circles can make frequent socializing more stressful than enjoyable. Constantly having to navigate these unspoken differences can lead to feelings of discomfort, envy, and sometimes isolation. This is another reason why many seniors begin to prefer a quieter, more independent life as they age. They choose to step away from social gatherings that might highlight their differences or create uncomfortable comparisons. Instead, they focus on relationships where financial status is irrelevant, relationships based on genuine connection, love, and respect. The burden of frequent visits, Mr. Wong's unwelcome realization. As we return to Mr. Wong's story, we see another common reason why older individuals choose to limit their social interactions: the physical and emotional burden that frequent visits can impose. Mr. Wong, like many others, initially enjoyed visiting friends and acquaintances, but over time, he began to notice that his regular visits were no longer as welcome as they once were. It all started with a casual invitation from an old high school friend. Mr. Wong was thrilled to reconnect and was eager to rekindle the old bond. However, what began as a friendly gesture soon became a regular weekend habit. He would show up every Saturday, expecting the same warm welcome he had once received. Over time, however, the dynamics of these visits began to shift. The initial warmth from his friend's family began to fade. His friend's wife seemed less enthusiastic, and the children, who had once enjoyed his company, started to retreat to their rooms more quickly. Despite these subtle signs, Mr. Wong pressed on, believing that his presence was still appreciated. Eventually, his friend had to gently address the situation. "Mr. Wong," he said, "we've enjoyed having you over, but my wife and children are starting to feel that their privacy is being invaded. It's affecting our family time." Mr. Wong was taken aback. He had never realized that his frequent visits were putting a strain on his friend's family life. This story highlights the importance of respecting personal boundaries. Just because an invitation is extended doesn't mean it's an open-ended one. Often, what we perceive as a warm gesture from others can be a formality, and our continued presence may inadvertently become a burden. For Mr. Wong, this was a lesson in empathy, listening to unspoken cues, and respecting the space and privacy of others. Creating a peaceful and fulfilled life in later years. Now that we've explored the challenges that can come with frequent visits and social interactions, it's time to shift focus to the positive side of solitude. Embracing the quiet moments of life can be incredibly enriching, especially as we grow older. Many seniors find peace and contentment in the simplicity of their daily routines and the quiet joy that comes from spending time alone. For instance, consider Mr. Jiang, a man in his late 60s who has chosen to live a quieter life. He enjoys the company of his family, but has found deep satisfaction in moments of solitude. Rather than filling his days with constant social gatherings, he relishes simple pleasures like reading, gardening, and taking walks. These activities have become a source of renewal and joy for him. Through embracing solitude, Mr. Jiang has learned to prioritize his well-being. He's able to focus on the things that truly matter to him, without the distractions or expectations that social visits sometimes bring. This doesn't mean he's lonely or disconnected. It simply means that he's chosen to cultivate a life that aligns more closely with his current needs and desires. The benefits of this quieter lifestyle are profound. Studies show that spending time alone can help reduce stress, improve mental clarity, and even contribute to a longer life. It allows individuals to reflect on their journey, appreciate their accomplishments, and reconnect with themselves. The quiet wisdom of age. As we reach our later years, the need for constant social engagement diminishes. The importance of meaningful relationships and the comfort of solitude becomes clearer. By respecting personal boundaries, understanding the unintended consequences of frequent visits, and embracing the peace of solitude, we can enrich our lives and ensure that our social interactions remain fulfilling and positive. The stories of Mr. Wong, Mrs. Lee, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Jiang offer valuable insights into the challenges and rewards of aging. They remind us that while social connections are essential, they must be balanced with self-care and respect for our own boundaries, as well as the boundaries of others. The lessons they teach us about mindfulness, empathy, and the value of solitude can help guide us to a more peaceful, harmonious, and fulfilling life in our golden years. So, what lessons have you learned from today's video? How will you apply them to your own life or the lives of your loved ones? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, and remember to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Together, we can continue to grow, learn, and make the most of every stage of life.